becomes more and more and more of a global society that we live in. And I think it's important, if not critical, that students have the opportunity to experience some other cultures and other places other than what they're used to. So I think it's important for them to try to plan to have that on their resume and in their background. The level of experience that it gives them, I think, opens their eyes to a lot of different things. So what's important to me is that we continually strive to get as many students as we can get engaged in those experiences. If you don't have that opportunity, I think you miss out.
I went to a study abroad when I was a teenager to England, and it changed my life. My most recent trip was in Florence, the site of the Renaissance, and we actually had as a topic from the Renaissance to new media. So we looked at the way Italians combine their ancient history with contemporary modern media. What I hope to accomplish with Study Abroad is that students get bitten by the bug and that they want to go back. So one of my success stories is that one of my students who came with me to Paris got married this summer, and she lives now full-time in France.
It's very intensive for the students. They really are immersed, and I think they learn a lot. In a couple of weeks they really go from one level to the next. Very often we take students that haven't had any experience traveling, and I think that's very rewarding. I think it's probably the most rewarding thing for us to have a student that has never traveled and that discovers something for the first time. Oh, I think it opens your eyes. I think it really makes you think. It makes, for students that are learning a language, obviously it's a way of really improving. And it's, I think it's like a bug. You get hooked. When you travel, you just want to travel more and more. And the more you travel, I think the better you are as a person, because the more understanding you become of other people and other places and other countries and other cultures. Several students that have gone on several study abroad programs that have repeated the next year and the next year, and that have gone for longer stays also.
Well, when you're in New Zealand, you're going to find out very quickly that there's no real distinction between work and play. When you're meeting people from the Maori folks and you're going on a hike in the woods and they're talking about their sacred trees and the fables that go along with it, that it's incredibly entertaining, and at the same time it's incredibly educational. And that pretty much typifies the whole trip, the whole 10 days that we're going to be spending in New Zealand, that it's a good blend of recreation and learning, and it's not one or the other. It's a heck of a lot prettier in New Zealand than it is in a classroom. Pretty much everywhere you look, you're going to have a smile on your face, because it's got to be one of the prettiest countries in the face of the earth. And you're outside, and we've taken 16 students each time. I'd say 3/4 of them have never been out of the country. This is their first time traveling. And they take to it like a duck to water. The students that have traveled before, the camaraderie that builds up, there's no concerns. The hardest part is maybe going over to CIE and finding out about it. After that, you're just dancing. It'll swoop you up and take you into its own thing. They're more interesting. They've got things to talk about that make them more interesting people. They get perhaps less self-centered. They get more curious about other cultures. They become more confident. It's a whole bag of things, and it's all positive.
You know, I walked through the president's house in Argentina when I couldn't even get past the White House front lawn. I found that funny. I got to see the actual chair that she sat in to do her work. That was awesome. Like, you can't see that like in a classroom. A picture doesn't do it justice. So there was a lot of content that helped us evolve our Spanish better and learn about Morocco too. Argentina, we met every morning for class, but then we just went out on our excursions and learned it firsthand. You have a view of the rest of the world. You know where you are, you know where they are, you are okay with traveling, you're okay with being outside your comfort zone, you're okay with people, all kinds of people, even if you don't speak their language, even if you don't look like them. It's just better for everybody. Do it and then think about it, because you're gonna love it. Necesitas estudiar afuera de los Estados Unidos.
And I mean, seeing anything in person, there's kind of like a wow factor that it's, wow, these things happened, wow, this actually, people lived through this, people experienced this. Yes, I'm experiencing it from, an outsider, but it just kind of hits home that this all actually did happen and people were affected, and can't wait to go back to Germany again. Bis später!
My most memorable moment from my trips was when I was at the United Arab Emirates University in Al Ain. We actually sat in with a class at the all-female university and had an open discussion about American foreign politics towards the Gulf region and the rest of the Middle East, and it was really eye-opening to see the view of the Emiratis on American foreign policy. You just can't learn about a culture from a classroom and books. I took 4 semesters of Arabic here at Central, and over there I was only there for 2 weeks, but I learned a lot more over there. It's just a lot easier when you're constantly having to speak Arabic. For the most part, all the lectures and the reading were really interesting, had to do with our trip. So it wasn't hard at all, and then we had to write a paper when we got back, but it didn't matter because I was so interested in what happened that the paper was easy. Shukran, masalama.
I used to have a misconception about Argentinians, that they were like very not very friendly, and when I was there, I pretty much, those misconceptions went away. I found people very approachable. Besides being exciting, is also very is intellectually is very challenging. As a matter of fact, this summer I'm planning to go to Spain as a result of my experiences that I had in Argentina. Nos vemos en España este verano. Hasta luego.
There's a lot of things that you learn abroad that you really can't learn in a classroom. It's like how to cook in a different language, how to use the metric system, how to get around without a car is really important, but really it's not a big deal because you can basically bike everywhere, you can take the train anywhere. People are really friendly. People really want you to, embrace the culture, sort of blend in with everyone. If you ever want to order something really tasty in Germany, you go to a donut shop and you say, "Ein Donut bitte, ganz scharf."
Out of the 2 times I studied abroad, my most memorable moment was in Sevilla, Spain. And I actually was lucky enough to go see a authentic flamenco show. And this is something really special for me because when I was little, I was given some flamenco dolls by one of my aunts. And I always had this dream that one day I would go to Spain, and I knew at some point in my life I would. I just didn't know when, but to be able to sit there in the audience and see the flamenco show and this tiny place with probably only like 100 other people it was a really cool moment. Prior to my first time studying abroad, I didn't even have the courage to say a sentence out loud in Spanish class unless it was written out in front of me. The teachers have really realistic expectations and rules of us when we study abroad, and I think that they have a very good handle on what everybody's doing, and putting safety definitely top of their priority list for us.
I talk to students all the time about how many college graduates are looking for employment, and yet how few college graduates have studied abroad while they're at school. So study abroad is a great way to distinguish yourself and your resume. Come in and talk to us. There are so many artificial barriers that students erect for themselves, all of the reasons why they can't study abroad, whether it be finances or family, or it won't fit into their academic program. I hope that students don't make the decision without coming in to talk to someone in the Center for International Education, because we can dispel those myths and break down those barriers and help every student plot a path to studying abroad while they're at Central.